So yeah, in terms of the vibe, I'm pretty stoked about this actually. It's one of the things I don't we haven't really talked about a lot, but is really interesting. So I'll just talk about it from aesthetic perspective first. There's there's era 0, era 1, era 2, era 3. These are all different architectural eras within Wilder World and Miami. And the reason we created these architectural eras is like, if you think of a city, the city evolves over time. Like if you go to New York City or London or whatever, you see buildings from all these different architectural eras and they fit and they fit together. And that's what makes, I feel one of the reasons why games don't feel real right now is because there's like a singular aesthetic and it's like all made at the same time, but it doesn't really consider things from the perspective of time and how cities evolve over time. So era 0 is kind of like a prehistoric, like ancient era. Era 1 is more like kind of 19th century. Era 2 is more cyberpunk, so it's like 2077 cyberpunk, like more Blade Runner esque. And then Era 3 is much more of like a protopia, sort of more feminine. And we have different people leading each of the development of each of these eras. And like each era even has different materials, for instance, because different things were invented at that point in time. And so there's different things that you can do with buildings during that era. And then we need all of those things to like fit together. So my hope is that there will be elements of seeing something more like a GTA or more like sort of sci-fi slash Blade Runner, but combining it all together in this very interesting way is something that I've never seen done before, and I think it'll actually give Wilder World a completely unique signature. Kind of like if you see Dune or you see The Matrix or you see Blade Runner, you just know that it's those things. Like they're these very iconic designs. So what we're doing is sort of more meta than that. And so the first scene that we just unveiled, which is showing like an intersection in the Little Meow district of Miami, and I've been like dropping clues on Twitter in terms of like actually where that is on the overall map. Like that intersection is in, if you go to my Twitter, you'll see like, where that initial scene is. Haven't said that publicly. But when you go through the demo, you'll actually see these different architectural eras. And we haven't shared a single concept yet or building on era 3. And it's my favorite era. So I'm pretty excited about that because it's totally kind of different, and new and much more feminine. Like it's actually being led by a woman, so it's like a totally different perspective. But so then in terms of gameplay, it will be more like GTA in terms of this sort of massive open world. But we're trying to not make it as like violent. Like parkour is a big part of things, and like running up buildings and sort of like moving around, like kind of like parkour slash ninja. So you can transportation and exploring the city is a really big part. So whether it's like wheels, crafts, climbing buildings, skateboards, all these types of things. So just making the city beautiful and making exploring it really fun is kind of our first objective. And then there's sort of like deeper and deeper gameplay mechanics that turn it into more of like, an MMO RPG, like Elden Ring style at the root, but it doesn't sort of start off that way.